Why is there a hesitation by the colleges to not teach this to students? Is there a generational divide? Do they not feel it's important? Are they not realizing the extent of the problem that our students do not grasp personal finance? What's the problem here with colleges?
Well, who knows? There colleges are all different. They're not a homogenous group. But I'll take a stab at it in terms of a few reasons. First, I think just momentum. We haven't done it before. It's hard to change things. And, universities and organizations, for that matter, are inherently conservative. So to get a big change, you start thinking about liability. What if we teach the wrong thing? Then you talk about who's actually going to teach this? Do we have people that are qualified to do it? And all of a sudden you get into cost. Then I agree with you. There's really not an understanding of what young people are looking for today. The people who would be teaching it are from a different generation because young people are not balancing our checkbooks. We use automation to transfer money from A to B, and it happens instantly. So there needs to be a profound shift in the type of things that are being taught to people, and for, I would argue, practical reasons. And that's somewhat different than what a lot of universities do. It's often theory-based, and that's great because a university level should provide theory. But money is, in my opinion, inherently practical. And I think, finally, it's just hard. It's hard to do, and so it's easier to do nothing.
What sorts of classes or policies would you like to see colleges implement?
Like I said, I'd like to see money management classes put into effect. I'd like to see them be requirements. I'd like to see better defaults for people to handle their money. There's a great book called Nudge, which shows you that by just setting the defaults in the right way, you can have people undergo much better behavioral results when it comes to money. For example, if you join a company, the company can nudge you in the right direction by automatically opting you in to the 401k and giving you a default contribution rate, rather than what happens now, which is you have to opt in by filling out a form and going through all these hoops. The difference is tremendous. You'll go from something like a 15 or 20% opt-in rate as it stands to something like a 70 or 80% opt-in rate if you do it by default. So imagine if your loan consolidation gave you, by default, the, quote, right choices. That would be wonderful for most students who just aren't equipped to deal with loan consolidation when the time comes.
A lot of personal finance blogs, they suggest learning money management skills early in life, and a lot of personal finance writers were in debt up to their heads. Why has there not been a push in America to teach this to our young adults when we see what has happened to people who don't grasp this at a young age?
That is one of the great mysteries that I have not been able to solve. We know what's going to happen to people. We know it. We have tons and tons of data, and yet we are not taking proactive steps to stop it. By the way, I think there's roles for a lot more people here. I think the government should be taking a stronger role. I think businesses should be taking a stronger role. Businesses as stewards can certainly take a stronger role in educating people. You see companies like Vanguard, and I'm a big fan of Vanguard, that do this. They try to educate consumers in a very, very simple way and show them, things that work. And if you call them up, they're great on the phone as well. But if you talk to, for example, a typical retail bank, like where you get your checking account, those guys just try to gouge you for as much money as they possibly can, which is great for making short-term results, but you don't get any kind of trust in terms of your customers, which is why I'm encouraging all of my readers to switch over to accounts at places that I trust. And I think that's becoming more and more important rather than, who has the best rate or what's the local bank. It doesn't work that way anymore because my banks are all online. So I think that there's place for government. I think there's place for business. And I think finally there's a space for us as individuals to take responsibility for our own education. You mentioned blogs. The fact of the matter is there's tons of great free personal finance advice online, but we are not taking the initiative to go and read it and learn about it ourselves. So why can we blame other people when we're not even doing it ourselves?
I was talking to GE from 20-something Finance. Are you familiar with him?
Yeah.
And he was talking about how America's built on spending. We're struggling right now trying to give money back to the citizens to spend, and perhaps that is a reason why the government hasn't stepped in and taught saving to our younger generations, because maybe they don't want them to save. Do you have any opinion on that?
Well, that's a pretty complicated statement and question.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I mean, there is certainly an issue that 70% of the economy is made up by consumption, but in the long term, you also want your citizens to have enough money to live on in retirement. You want them to plan accordingly. But that's not as simple as just saying, oh, we're not going to teach them about personal finance. It's incredibly complicated to get the structure set up to let people save money. Is it 401ks? Is it pension plans? What happens if people don't know how to invest? There are many, many, many complicated questions coming along with it. For me, that's all nice and theoretical, but I don't really care about that. I care about what can we do on an individual level. Do you have enough knowledge or access to knowledge that you can learn, oh my God, by putting $100 away in an investment account and investing it in a regular index fund, I will be rich. And by stopping spending on this one thing, but continuing to spend on the rest of my life, I will be on the path to getting rich. Those are the things I care about. I think it's tactical. It's not about debating government policy. I'll leave that to other people.
What sorts of checking accounts, savings accounts, investments accounts should college-age students have that a majority of them don't?
Now, that is a great question. So college students should have a checking account. It should be a no-fee checking account, especially if you're in college. You have all the chips. You can go to your bank and say, look, I'm a college student. I want no fees, and if you don't give it to me, I will walk. I will go to another bank. And these banks will instantly give you no-fee checking account. Okay? The savings account should be a high-interest savings account. I prefer the online ones like ING Direct or Emigrant Direct. And those ones, again, have no fees and no minimums. What you do then is you connect those two, and you can transfer money between them. Finally, in terms of an investment account, I would set up a simple investment account at a good company like Vanguard or a T. Rowe Price or a TIAA CREF. You don't have to start investing immediately. That's the thing that a lot of people get hung up on is they say, oh, my God, I have to get everything right. No, you don't. You can just start step by step. Open up an investment account. Then you can send $50 over there. And then you can set it to automatically send $50 every month or every 2 months or every year. Once you do that, then your money's just sitting over there in cash, and you can finally learn how to invest and put that money to work for you. So your checking, your savings, and your investment accounts, and you've got the basic infrastructure right there to get rich.
What sort of misconceptions about investing do our college students have as far as picking individual stocks and not picking index funds? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, people think that investing is picking individual stocks, and it's not. I cannot emphasize this enough. First of all, even the fanciest money managers in New York who make millions of dollars a year, even they cannot beat the market 80% of the time. 80% of the time, they lose. They get investment returns lower than the market. And the fact of the matter is, you can invest virtually directly in the market, so you can beat these guys, okay? And it doesn't cost a lot of money. You don't have to choose different companies because, frankly, you're not sophisticated enough to pick different companies. If the New York guys are not, you're not. And so what I encourage people to do is the very simplest type of investment, which is called a life cycle fund. This is so easy, it's unbelievable. You basically go to a Vanguard, a TIAA, Kraft, Fidelity, whatever, and you say, all right, I want to look for your life cycle fund. It's also called a target date retirement fund. And all you do is you tell them your age, and they will give you a fund that is low cost, and all you do is just put as much money as possible into it. So all of a sudden you've reduced your choices from 50,000 companies that you have to screen to one investment, and now your only focus is funneling as much money as possible into it. The thing about these life cycle funds is, number one, they're low cost, and number two, they will rebalance for you as you get older. So when you're in your 20s, you're going to want really aggressive investments because you have time on your side to make money. As you get older, you're going to want to become more conservative because you got prescription, pills, and you got to play bingo and stuff like that. You want to be more conservative. You can't afford to lose that money. If more people had had life cycle funds, more elderly people, they would not be feeling the brunt of this as much because they would not have been as exposed to the stock market. So, sum it up. Picking